The annual Woodford Reserve Batch Proof releases have had mixed reviews over the past couple of years. The current retail price of around $150 has a lot of people questioning if this amount of dough is worth it. So today we are going to be reviewing the all-new 2024 Woodford Reserve Masters Collection Batch Proof, and we're going to see if it's worth it. And then after that, we are going to put it in a blind tasting with the previous 3 years of the batch proof and see how it stacks up. Let's get into it. All right, so the all-new 2024 Woodford Reserve Masters Collection Batch Proof, that is a mouthful. But this bottle comes in the standard Woodford Reserve mash bill. That's going to be 72% corn, 18% rye, and 10% malted barley. Now, just like all the previous releases, this is non-age stated, but believed to be about 5 to 7 years old. And this release in particular is coming in at 121.2 proof. Now, if you're watching this video, at least shortly after I released it, you're probably wondering, 1, how I got this bottle so early, 2, why it has not been announced yet, and 3, when you can get it. Well, typically the batch proof series is released in June, and depending on your market, it might take a month or 2 more for that to hit your shelves, which is why I was very surprised that I was able to obtain this bottle so early. So here's the story. Liquor stores in Illinois put this bottle on the shelves. A friend of mine based in Illinois ended up buying one and shipping it to me. Now, when I initially saw a photo of this bottle, I did not entirely believe this was the 2024 release. I mean, they did the collaboration with Costco where they had their own bottling of the batch proof, but given that this was January, I did not understand why a liquor store would be selling it so early. So I did what any curious bourbon drinker would do, and I emailed Woodford Reserve. And they confirmed 2 things. They confirmed, number 1, this is in fact the 2024 release, and number 2, it has not been announced yet. I guess, and number 3, stores are not selling it yet. So looks like someone might be getting in trouble over this one. But for me, I get good content. Either way, I am super excited to get in this bottle, so let's get to drinking. Holy sh! I mean, first impressions, this smells fantastic. I'm getting a little bit of chocolate, kind of like peanut brittle, toffee notes, as well as kind of like a cherry undertone as well. Let's get a little bit in the mouth. Damn, that is like peanut brittle, like an apricot undertone on there as well. I mean, it's incredibly balanced. Honestly, when I'm typically tasting these batch proofs, I don't get a ton of that kind of stewed fruit, but I'm getting a lot of that on this one. By the way, like, I absolutely love when I taste stewed fruit in a bourbon. To me, that is like the quintessential bourbon when it has that fruit undertone. I'm impressed. The mouthfeel of it, it's super oily, it coats the palate. Doesn't last quite as long as I would want it to, but man, when it is there, it is delectable. I mean, my first impressions tell me this is the best Woodford Reserve batch proof I've had to date. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna have my wife pour me all 4 releases blind, you know, the last 4 years. So we got 2021, 2022, 2023, the 2024. We're gonna see which one is the best. Now, I think it's gonna be this one. All right, so here we go. Got all 4 of the last Woodford Reserve batch proof releases in front of me, so I'm just gonna kind of go one by one and give my thoughts, I suppose. This one's got a fantastic nose. It's kind of that deep caramel sweetness. On the palate, that follows through. This is kind of what I expect the Woodford batch proof releases to be, but there is a little bit, kind of in the tail end, a little bit of tannic unpleasantness that follows through, but it's damn good. This one's a little bit more nutty than the first one, getting a little hint of fruit in there as well, not as much of that caramel sweetness. Yeah, so this one's a little bit more of that peanut brittle. It is a little bit more hot. It doesn't drink, you know, as nicely as the others in my opinion, so I think this is probably one of the more higher proof ones. This one's great. This one has a lot more of that kind of, you know, rich stewed fruit in it. Not as much as that, you know, peanut brittle that I was getting before. I mean, there's brown sugar. A little bit of a like pecan note in there, like a pecan pie. So this last one isn't quite hitting the spot like the other 3 did. It drinks definitely at like a low proof. I think this is probably, you know, the easiest drinking of them all, but overall I think it's kind of thin. It doesn't coat to the palate as much. It's not as oily as the other ones. I'm still getting like that brown sugar on it. a little bit of that kind of peanut brittle, but just this one just falls a little bit more flat than the other ones. All right, so here's my verdict. I'm gonna go number 1 right here. This one is just much more of that kind of stewed fruit. It feels like there's a lot more going on. The mouthfeel is fantastic. It's very balanced. I'm a huge fan of this one. Number 2 is going to be this one. This is just a great representation of a high proof bourbon. I think there's rich caramel sweetness notes in there, a little bit of that toffee, and it's a very balanced whiskey as well. When I kind of came out at first, there was a little bit of like a tannic aftertaste, but that has kind of gone away, at least since I've started drinking the other 3. So this is definitely a clear number 2. Number 3 is going to be whatever this one is. I think this drink's pretty hot, but the flavor is all there. It has a little bit of that kind of peanut brittle nuttiness than the others, but I still think it's fantastic. And then last place is going to be this one on the end here. This one just kind of fell flat. In general, all these other 3 were just bringing tons of flavor to the table, and this was still fantastic by all means, but I think compared to these other 3, it kind of shows its weaknesses. So now I'm going to find out what I was drinking. So here's the key that my beloved wife drew for me. Well, I was wrong. According to this key that my wife wrote here, this got last place. The 2024 got last place over the last 4 years. My conclusion, that shocks me. When I had this 121.2 just a moment ago, it was phenomenal. I was getting those deep fruit notes, but man, it just fell short in this blind. I think maybe these other batches, there's just so much going on that it just kind of overshined the strength of this 121.2. So I guess my conclusions, I'm gonna go back and delete all the footage of me tasting that 121.2 at the start here. I've always been a huge fan of these, so there's no such thing as a bad Woodford Reserve Batch Proof in my opinion, but this is the results today. Would I buy a 121.2 if I saw it in the wild at 150 bucks? I would. Even though I already have a bottle, I would buy another one at that. I think it is phenomenal bourbon and you will not be disappointed with it. Especially this was the first bourbon that I started the night out with, and I thought it was an incredibly balanced, delicious, easy drinking starter. You know, even at that high proof, it definitely doesn't drink as high proof as it is. So those are my conclusions. I recommend buying it if you see it, but I guess all the other batches are better. Now, some of you guys are probably saying, Connor, 150 bucks is out of my price range, which I completely understand. In that case, I think this video right here is going to be for you. I'm going to talk about the 5 barrel proof bourbons I regret not buying sooner. And a side note, they're all under 100 bucks. So go check that video out. It was great having you guys today. Cheers.